Michelle is the only one who yeah, it's the killer of the, that's, yeah.
I would like to say.
And large print.
I do. The large.
I don't know if they have Michelle in it or
No,
not.
I'll show you, no days.
That's what I saw her anyway. 'Cause she texted me that she's not gonna be here. I was gonna go roust her if she just.
Good luck with that.
If you find someone else, yeah, that'd be fun.
There's only one. So that's skill stunts, and I don't trust skill stunts.
We're all individuals. Some of us are.
So I would never frame it. It's cheaper, all that's great.
That's what it's gotta be competition.
We still don't. Yeah, right.
Not necessarily.
Yeah. Yeah, right there.
Yeah. My sister. Once.
I call the meeting to order. Christie, if you would do our invocation for us.
Heavenly Father, we thank you for this evening and this time to do your business. Father, give us the discernment and wisdom to know how to move forward in things. Lord, we just ask you to be present here. We ask this in your name. Amen.
And if you join me for the pledge of allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Could you do the roll call for us, Tracy?
Michael,
Yes, here. Sorry.
Christie, here. Jeffrey,
Here.
Lee. Here. Scott,
Here.
Tracy here, Nola is absent.
Next, we have approval of the agenda. If someone wants to make a motion. Make a motion to approve. The agenda. Michael. Support by Christie. Any discussion among the board? Hearing none, all in favor say aye. Aye. All opposed? Motion passes. Next, we have approval of past meeting minutes. We have meeting minutes from October 9th and October 17th. We have a motion to approve the minutes either singly or together.
Motion to approve the regular meeting minutes from October 9th and the joint meeting with planning and zoning October 17th.
Motion by Scott. Do we have support?
Support.
Support by Christie. Any discussion among the board? Hearing none, all in favor say aye. Aye. All opposed? Motion passes. Next, we have the treasurer's report. Any questions, thoughts, ideas, comments, concerns, huh?
You'll notice that Tracy and I decided to cut down on some of the bank accounts for reconciliation to make life a little easier within the house. So we moved money from the sewer, we closed the sewer fund down. We closed the trust and agency and the fire operating it up. All we are just gonna be managing out of the general fund. So it'll be all in one now on my end, but it's all
It's all
separate.
separate from the general ledger.
So. And that'll save also money for buying checks, multiple checks from different sources.
All right, so we can put that on file. Next, we have paying the bills. Do we have a motion to pay the bills? Planning.
Make a motion to approve bills as presented.
By Tracy. There is a support. Support by Christie. Any discussion on the bills? Hearing none, roll call vote.
Tracy, yes. Christie. Yes. Michael,
Yes.
Lee,
Yes.
Jeffrey,
Yes.
Scott,
Yes.
Motion passes. Next, we have the fire department report, David Chief.
Thank you, sir. 81 calls for service last month. Staying within the normal range that we're happy with. Obviously, on October 31st, we got inundated. Blizzard. I gotta thank the guys and gals. They stayed up all night tirelessly and ran 30 calls in a 18-hour period. Our 911 center took 2,300 calls for service in about 12 hours, and I understand what it's like for people, and I understand the frustrations, but you've got to be patient with us and with the line guys. It was a mess, and we got called a bunch of names a bunch of times because things happen, and we're okay with that. It's just as citizens, please tell your neighbors, hey, just believe me, we're not thinking about it, but to understand how busy it was. At one point, there were 300 calls holding that this dispatch couldn't get out because the other things would happen that were higher priority. You've got 7 people trying to take care of 172,000 people in a blizzard that shouldn't happen on Halloween. I'm getting text messages if we're still going to have trick or treating. It's not my decision, but and I answered as best I could. I call the township. I don't want to tell you, but the guys and gals did an amazing job, and Nate and his staff trying to keep us open and keep us going. And I know we lost power, and thank God for the generator and the ability to have that kept us running. Obviously, unfortunately, you understand how electricity works. We lost a phase, which we didn't realize. We realized we did, which was half the building run, which isn't a big deal, but it inadvertently caused some damage to our air compressor that runs the air compressor that keeps the vehicles full of air so we can take the brakes off. Unfortunately, that took a hit, and I had to spend a couple $100 to get that fixed. But the part's been ordered. I'm not gonna. I'll let you know when it's fixed, but we're maintaining, and the Rocon is in service, and we used it last week already. It worked out flawlessly. I got things have been going really well. Obviously, we had the fire prevention last month, and good Lord liked us for a change. It didn't rain. It rained that morning, but then we were good all night. We didn't kill Nate's grass too bad, so we're pretty happy. We were guessing just about 500 people in that few hours that came through. So those of you that support us, we truly appreciate it. It was a good thing for us. Now we're on to bigger and better, and we're starting the process to get the full-time people hired to start them in April, and now we're into the budget season, so we're gonna start thinking about budgets, and we're gonna finish phase 2 of the building and get the outside down taken care of. Be ready to go April 1st, but moving along. I thank everybody for their support and allow us to do what we do. That's all I have.
Perfect, thank you. Next, we have the planning commission report, if you would lead.
We met October 21st. There's a small agenda. We actually just had one item of unfinished business, or 2 items of unfinished business. One from the previous month that we postponed for a special events venue. Actually, it's one of the members of the board looking to do a wedding venue. He came back with he had his water line for sprinklers for dust control that the neighbors were worried about. And also for privacy, the neighbors and him are splitting the cost of a privacy fence, so that fixes the problem. Next was a Parks and Recs plan, just continuing looking at changes and modifications from Steve. And then the last item was a discussion and a query from Jesse McCormick about future plans for the transportation and McCormick sand. Just had a small discussion about what his plans are. That was it.
Perfect, thank you. Next, we have the maintenance and grounds reports, if you would, Nate.
Thanks. Yeah. Mine's a lot more than usual, but leaves has just been crazy lately. Especially with that storm that Chief was talking about that made every leaf come down pretty much. We've been doing that. Twin Lake Cemetery has been taking a lot of cleanup. The new Billy Goat Hurricanes walk behind blower or ride on blower has been awesome. Makes work a lot easier, specifically at the cemetery. The seasonal workers that I have work with me, their last week is probably this week. That's dependent on if we can get all the leaves up. It sounds like we're going to be able to, but we're going to do a little lunch for them tomorrow to kind of for their departure. The transfer station has been knocked down to just 1 day a week, which is well known, but it's only Saturdays until April 1st. And yeah, the snowstorm that Chief was talking about, yeah, I was plowing from 11 a.m. to 7 p.m. nonstop. As soon as I'd get done, I had to plow again because there was 2 inches in front of the firehouse. So that was interesting. There's a lot of branches down. We're still working on it. We got most of them up. So I mean, if there's any concerns on township property, just make sure you let me know and we'll get them taken care of.
Perfect, thank you. Next, visiting official updates. I don't think there are any visiting officials here. That'll probably start to become relevant around February when people are filing who run for office and want to make certain comment on that. Which brings us to our first public comment on agenda items, 3 minutes. I'll start the clock. After it gets past the red, it beeps special, but if anyone wants to comment on anything that we're going over tonight?
Just to say that the firehouse did a great job with their open house in October. I thought it was very, very nice. Very nice. They did a good job getting ready.
Yes, well organized. Right, well, we move on to our decision items. And the first one is the M120 Christmas tree. We talked about it last month and we've accumulated some more information. Nate had reached out about getting some of these arborists, and Jelinek checked it out and Gittercut checked it out. It has a fungal infection. Potential differences on what to do with that. There's also a letter included from James Jones that was involved with some of the history of how this tree came about and why it was taken care of before and what had happened with it. The fungal infection, from what I understand, it is a Colorado blue spruce, which doesn't do as well if it doesn't get enough sun, especially if Gittercut was going over this with Nate. And so a Norwegian blue spruce might hold up better. But we can treat this fungal infection. It's not 100% guaranteed. There'd be 3 treatments totaling $1,200 from Jelinek to try to make that tree healthier. It's possible in the future that it could reoccur. The other major option as far as trees go is to get a new one growing and ready to replace it, or to replace it with another tree. There's obviously the option of replacing with a flagpole too, although inserting letter and stuff in here, I think there's probably going to end up being more support for keeping it as a real tree, but it's still an option. Is there anything that you wanted to add to that, Nate?
No, I mean, you a little bit, you hit it right. It's the type of tree that was put there is not correct for this environment. So that tree needs to be dry, and most, like a Norwegian blue spruce will dry itself or absorb the water that it takes within a day. But the Colorado blue spruce needs more sunlight, so it'll stay wet for about 2 to 3 days regardless of sunlight. It's a weird, I'm not an arborist, I tried to understand what the guy was telling me, but it's just not ideal for this environment, except like you said, the Norwegians go crazy here. And then all that added moisture with one that's not supposed to be here, because Colorado gets an average of about 300 days of sunlight a year. We're lucky to get about 100, 120. So that's why it's not doing very well. Any of the moisture attracts mold and mildew, which is why it has the infection it has. So I don't know, it's a new venture that I've gotten into. I've been about trees, but it's interesting.
What did Gittercut say about treatments?
Gittercut specifically was saying that it's probably going to die regardless. Jelinek said the opposite. So I'm not sure. I mean, they were along the same lines with they both.
They said there's the same problem.
Right, they diagnosed it with both the same problem, but they were specific. Jelinek was saying it's got a high success rate with the treatment, and then Gittercut says it doesn't. He said it works, but if it doesn't work fast. He said you have about 3 to 5 years with that tree if we treat it. That was Gittercut. Jelinek didn't say that, but also Jelinek volunteered to wrap the tree with lights this year with their equipment and their time if we buy the lights. So that's something to think about too. You can't treat it until the spring. If we don't treat it, it'll only live a year, and after a year, it'll start falling apart fast. So
we definitely need to do something with it.
Yes.
I mean, it's possible that we treat it next year, and then it's not doing great, and we have to look at a replacement nevertheless. It's possible that we do the treatment, and it's good for another handful of years or more. It's hard to tell. Sometimes trees are hardy. Sometimes they don't do great. I'm not well versed in keeping trees alive myself.
So a couple of questions.
what, do we have the lights or do we need to purchase them?
That's kind of why we're here too, to maybe discuss if we want to do that, because it's gonna cost $1,200 to fix the tree, so then I can't imagine. I didn't look into lights too much because I kind of wanted to see what we wanted to do first, but you can imagine how much it's gonna cost, you know, you go through a lot of lights quick, wrapping a tree like that.
Okay, but they volunteered to donate that?
Yeah, donate and.
To put them labor.
To put that up, not to purchase the lights. They would want us to purchase them, they would use their equipment.
Right, then they would take them down.
We would leave them on
Oh, you just
permanently, pretty much, yeah. Just right now, there's none on there because there was 4 different brands on there and only one worked. So I ripped them all off as much as I could, so.
Can we just get the lights and do that and come back in the spring and see how it's doing?
Well,
We just have to treat it.
right, so
We
we,
don't have to treat it now, though. We don't need to make that decision tonight.
I mean, that's true. We could put off the treatment because the treatment would start in the spring. So, but if we're gonna get the lights and put them up, I mean, I think that's reasonable to do now. We're very close to Christmas, right? So, and then I guess we could at that point take them off and look at replacing it. I mean, it's hard to say with the split decision between the arborists and you know, them being not confident, right? It's a probability thing on whether it's gonna make it or not. I don't think it's unreasonable to treat it and try to save it, and hopefully it works. If going into next Christmas, it's not looking good, it's still going downhill, the treatment didn't work, then obviously going into the next year, we have to look at replacing it.
Okay, what's this bid of $99? What's that?
That was for them to look at.
That's
Oh,
not a
just to
bid.
look at it. So they've already done that.
Yeah, Jelinek looked at it for free for us, but I wanted at least 2 arborists to look at it and get a cut as a $99 fee.
Are we at the freedom to survey our small audience here and see what their thoughts are, or is that not appropriate?
We could do that.
I think we should.
Yeah.
Yes.
Well, let's
They look at it too.
let's see how it goes. So who thinks that we should treat the tree that is currently there to try to save it?
Could I ask about this? Jim Jones
Nobody.
said, it says here, we have someone who will plant a new one at no charge to the township.
Yeah, I've been pen paling with him, because that's how he likes to communicate. And so in my last letter, he hasn't responded to, but I was asking who that might be. And so I'm not sure.
I'll try to talk, I know him, I'll try to talk to him, I talk to him at the post office all the time.
Okay.
I mean, I'll see what he,
Mr.
what he means by this, I mean, but if he's willing to replace this at some point,
Yes.
so I will go talk to him.
Yeah, that's fine. He won't answer the door for me.
Well,
So.
I probably wouldn't answer the door.
Andy didn't call. Andy didn't call and he didn't
Just kidding.
email and he didn't leave a phone number or an email. So he's a pen pal.
Well, I know he's been ill, I know that he hasn't been well. I just talked to him a couple weeks ago at the post office.
Yeah.
I would say if you can't talk to them, if we end up going that route, that we get together on deciding what type of tree we put there, so we never have this issue again.
Right.
Why treat it if it's not even the right kind of tree? I don't get that part. Why would you treat?
I have no problem with chopping down the tree.
I think that's, I think replacing it with a new tree that's appropriate for the weather is a better idea.
For $1,200, you know what kind of tree you can buy? More than one. And you don't want to transplant them when they're real big to begin with, right? They don't do well the bigger they get when you transplant them, but.
A mighty nice tree for $1,200. Any other opinions?
Can we get maybe the FOP or some local scouts or something to donate lights for this year, just to use the one that we have with lights, and it doesn't cost anything, and,
Be worth reaching out.
yeah. I don't know. You know,
Yeah. If anyone wants to
How
throw
many
money or
hundred-
resources
How
our
many
way,
feet do you
I'll
think,
accept.
how many hundred feet would you estimate? And do you have any?
I'd say
Depends on
probably,
which ones we get.
yeah, it depends, like Chief said, depends on what we get, but probably around 500 feet, I would have to assume. Cause you go around that tree once, you're 45, 50 feet, you know, just
Like,
all the way around.
right, that's not what I heard.
All right.
Oh, and somebody, go ahead.
Well, so are we going in the direction of, so decorate it for this year and then pursue the avenues? Because we can have a tree place replace it. We may have a lead on someone else replacing it too and essentially pursue that.
No, I will make a motion that we begin the process to replace the M120 Christmas tree with another Christmas tree.
Okay. Yep. And then you're thinking for next year essentially.
Correct.
Decorate it for this year.
Yes.
Set it up for next year.
Yes.
Okay.
Second that.
All right. So motion by Michael, second by Scott. Any other discussion among the board? Let's roll call vote.
Michael,
Yes.
Scott,
Yes.
Tracy, yes. Jeffrey,
Yes.
Christie. Yes. Lee. Yes.
Motion passes. All right, so we'll work on that, and yeah, Karen, if you could reach out and just let him know. And I mean, feel free to give him my number and stuff. I prefer to have maybe a phone conversation if he's able. If not, we can keep doing the letters.
I thought he might be here, but
Yeah. I told him I would include the letter, and his son contacted me, and I told him I'd include that letter as well. So they knew they would at least be represented. All right, next we have the automatic door opener. And so obviously we've done a decent amount of construction. And before we did the construction, we had someone, I think, stuck in doors with a wheelchair, and I helped them out of there. And then looked at having the automatic doors where you hit the button and open them up. And it was a little over 10 grand. And so I didn't pursue it at that point. If it was a few grand, I was going to approve it. But it was over 10 grand and didn't do it. As we've done the other construction, I never added it to the list. But Amy pointed out that she's seen a decent number of elderly people go and come out of the doors, and they can be kind of hard to open. And so it makes sense to have it where you push the button and the doors open. This is just for a single door at each level. So it's two openers, but it's for one door at each level. It deal Morse coded, and it was still over 10 grand. So this comes to $11,613. So right in that same amount I quoted probably a year ago or something like that. This is a change order to add to the list of the things we just finished up for the bathrooms and the painting.
Was your bid from a year ago with the same company?
No, different company.
That was my concern, is that seemed high.
Yeah, they came in close on numbers. Both seem high for what it is, but I was talking with Adam on it, and he said the parts, just the hydraulic parts, actually cost quite a bit. So several $1,000s each.
Do our old doors work with the new technology?
Adam said they would.
They would.
Yeah, you should be able to install just the hydraulic portion of it to go on there.
Is it one for each door that what it is?
Correct, so there's two openers. Our double doors wouldn't be for the double doors at each level, so, because you'd have to double that price. Yeah. It would be for a single door at each level. Yep, so you'd be able to make it all the way in or all the way out on a single side, which is how we use the doors now unless we're moving something big in or out of the building.
Seems to be what most of the bank, it's like that too, it's usually just one door. So,
Right. Any thoughts or motions?
My instinct is that we get a couple more bids, just to, that kind of swayed me back the other way, since you did get a bid just last year. I did make a contact tonight, but they didn't get back with me. We're getting the same thing done at our church building, and I wanted to know what that bid came in as. I was sure, which anyway, I didn't get it in time. So
Yeah,
that would be my only concern, is that we get a couple more bids.
yeah, it's reasonable. If someone has a different line and some sort of other, as far as I understand, it have to be some sort of different hydraulic device.
Could we bump this to next month?
We can.
That's what I would go for.
I think we might as well. So we'll either have someone have a motion to approve or a motion to postpone until next month.
I'll make the motion to postpone that.
With motion to postpone by Michael, do we have support?
I'll support.
Support by Tracy. Any other discussion among the board? Hearing none, roll call vote.
Michael,
Yes.
Tracy, yes. Scott,
Yes.
Christie. Lee,
Yes.
Jeffrey.
No. Just because I feel confident, but. You're probably right, I'll be proven wrong. Oh, I could be wrong, it's not uncommon for me. Next, we have,
For grants too.
Okay.
Accessibility.
next, we have resolution 2023-35 for ARPA fund expenditures. So there's several things in here. There's a resolution which includes two things. One is the ARPA fund expenditures on the construction, which included that amount. No big deal to adjust or to leave there, because we're going to be over how much we have left in ARPA funding. And then the $424,000 for the road contract. The road contract is also included in here, which has a decent list of the roads, so 14.53 miles, and the breakdown of how much the road commission is covering on that. So the $813,000 worth of work and a chart. The discrepancy in the total number and the total mileage is because they, in the original chart, they didn't include the chip seal for Central, which Tracy caught, and so that is added in the contract.
That's what I was gonna ask, I'm like, I still don't see it here.
It's not in the
Okay,
chart,
but
it's in the contract.
contract.
Yep.
Okay, perfect.
And so, and then that's why that number is slightly different there. And then with this, if we allocate or if we contractually obligate all of the ARPA funds by the end of this year, then we get a 1% bonus. And so not a huge amount, but not a small amount, be a little over $8,000 in comparison to our ARPA funds, which was $846,000. And I still wanted to preserve a decent amount for roads. We've been talking about that. It's easy to spend the money on other things as well. With having this, I didn't know if the road commission would be able to get everything together, but we essentially had a plan over the next 2 years, a tentative plan. And so the road commission used that and went through it a little bit again and put it together. Because we're moving on it relatively early at this point, I talked with Holka, the head of the road commission, and he thinks they could do all of these projects yet next year. So it'd be quite a bit of work in a single year, and we would be over our ARPA funds amount, so we should qualify for that. We just have to report. So that's the plan and what we're looking at.
Mr. Jones is here.
Oh, perfect. All right. We have a second public comment, so we can come back around to it. And I want to talk to you after the meeting too.
Well, the reason I did that is because we just discussed the tree.
Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah,
and so
so
that's
it's-
why I wanted them to know that you were here. But I was assigned to go visit you.
We had plans.
Short walk now.
We had plans that involved you, so we'll come back around to it. Appreciate it.
So I guess my question, since part of that is a benefit to me, kind of, should I exempt myself or is that not a big deal?
It's a good question. It is a good question. You're not directly financially benefiting in some way. It's something that would occur with or without you. So it shouldn't be heavily controversial, but I think it could be debated either way.
Central Road passed before he was on the board, so.
With the plan of chip sealing this year. The
Right,
plan was
that
already
was, that always is
Correct.
included, so.
All right. You guys decide.
Yeah. Which is actually a decent process, to bring it up to the board and let the board decide, but I would finally be voting on it. That's a minor amount of the money under consideration, that's for sure. If it was a vote just on that, then my opinion would be, okay, you should vote. Any other questions, thoughts, ideas, comments, concerns? Any motions?
I'll make a motion to approve the resolution 2023-35 for ARPA fund expenditures and for the local road project contract with the Muskegon County Road Commission to be signed.
Motion by Tracy, do we have a support? Support by Christie, any discussion among the board? Hearing none, Roll call vote.
Tracy, yes. Christie? Steve?
Yes.
Michael?
Yes.
Scott?
Yes.
Jeffrey?
Yes. Motion passes. Next, we have the land bid opening for Chicago and Michigan. We had set it in the last month's meeting at $5,590 for a minimum bid. I did receive 2 bids, and so I will open the first one now. Technically, it just says land bid, and it was just dropped off. And I assume it's for this. It's the only thing that we have for sale right now. Right, and that's in this bid is for $5,600. Yep, so just over on that one. I will open up the second one here. And this one is for $7,500. So the minimum bid was $5,590. The first bid was for $5,600. The second bid is for $7,500. Those are the only 2 bids that we have.
Make a motion to accept the bid for
$7,500 from Gary Brown.
Gary Brown for the 3 reference parcels.
Motion by Scott, do we have support? Support. Support by Michael. Any discussion among the board? Hearing none, roll call vote.
Scott?
Yes.
Michael?
Yes.
Tracy, yes. Lee?
Yes.
Jeffrey?
Yes.
Christie? Yes.
Motion passes. Next, we have the PLM contract for Westlake. Now, over the last few years, Westlake is the only lake that I've had discussions with people on for not doing treatments or changing treatments with PLM. There's been discussion about maybe there should be mechanical cutting instead of chemical treatments. And there's been some discussion of maybe something should be changed in some way. I had reached out to another company, I can't remember the name of, but main competitor of PLM, to see if they would put in a bid on any of our lakes or give us any type of assessment. They haven't got back to me with any information. We have the option here of doing a multi-year contract, which essentially limits how much they can increase it per year in there, and it says in the PLM contract, or you can do 1-year treatment. We obviously do a special assessment on the lake, so we have some obligation there to treat it in some way. Before, when the board had discussed it, although the board had changed a bit since then, the idea was if something like chemical treatment to mechanical treatment wanted to be switched, then we would need a petition of 51%. We haven't had anyone start a petition in any way, just some inquiries. And the 1-year contract obviously can work, just we will see the contract again next year, and the prices could fluctuate a little more than if we did the multi-year. The other 3 lakes we have the multi-year contract on. And the 3 lakes we treat on are Twin Lake, Middle Lake, North Lake, and of course, West Lake that we're looking at, we don't do treatments. On Goose Egg Lake, there's been some inquiries, but we don't do treatments on there. PLM was messaging the people independently, doing mailers, and then Fox Lake is in the village, so they take care of that.
And is this one just coming up because its time came up, or just because
Correct. Yep, just the time on the contract came up.
it was a multi-year before? Okay.
I believe so. I believe it was a multi-year before. And as far as the material, they don't treat for swimmer's itch officially anymore. The state of Michigan did away with that, and the treatments are only supposed to be for exotic plants.
Is this the chemical treatment Mr. Paul does not want done because it's killing the fish? He's the one that came in,
Correct.
so he's the one that comes in and he is asking us not to treat it no more because every time he fills it up with fish, this treatment kills the fish.
Correct.
So they stopped filling the lake with fish because of this. They haven't bought, I think this past spring.
Yeah, and
Now it
from,
makes sense what's going on.
yeah, and from what I understand, I mean, if you kill off the weed beds, then obviously there's no place for the fish to
go.
be.
Yeah, the top, this letter says, due to the lack of a plant growth during 2023, it needs to be monitored, so it sounds like there wasn't much.
Yeah, and they do say they treat as needed, you know, they do their inspections, and they do their treatments based on what is needed there. But how much exactly is needed is, of course, debatable.
And they have no idea why the native plants just died.
BLM, I've emailed with them about it, and they said that they have certainly not been overtreating it. But I mean, that's obviously what you would expect from them, of course. That's why I kind of wanted that quote from that other company, competitive in some way at least, but they send some reports and stuff and say that they're not overtreating it, treating it essentially like a normal lake. Or comparable to the other lakes. Lake treatments, always controversial. Growing up on Blue Lake, and after they would treat the lakes, you could swim in it, you could have kids swim in it before you could have dogs drink from it, so.
I'll make a motion to approve the 1-year contract with PLM for Westlake.
Motion by Tracy for the 1-year contract. Your support? Or a different motion? I'll support the motion, so we can have a vote. Is there any discussion among the board? Hearing none, let's roll call vote it.
Tracy, yes. Jeffrey,
Yes.
Scott,
Yes.
Christie,
No,
Michael,
No.
me.
Oh.
Yes.
Motion
Carries.
passes.
Yeah.
All right, next we have the land sale request on East Drexel. So this doesn't have anything put in there, so it doesn't have an address. It's up near the village in that direction again. The normal process, the first step, we have been putting it up for the true cash value of the assessor and the market comparables from the realtor, so that we have information for setting the minimum bid in the next meeting.
Yeah, attached is the parcel number, but there is no address.
Yeah, so it's 1.51 acres according to GIS, and obviously this is in the packet, so it's publicly posted on the, look it up on the GIS if you want to see a wider picture on it as well.
The history. Why we're selling this?
So
I missed that.
it was requested.
Okay.
So we've just been putting things up for bid as they're requested. Haven't been, I mean, the county recommended that we do some sort of massive program where you hire realtors and really try to push all the real estate out of that area. But I've just been allowing them to come in as requests come in. So the reason the township owns so much of that property up by the village is because, well, it's a long history. But there are a bunch of little pieces were given to people when they did newspaper subscriptions in Chicago. That's a big part of it. So it's all chopped up So it's very messy up there. And then at various times, going back to the 20s, land has been shifted around between the state, the county, and the township. In 1986, 15,000 pieces of land were given to Dalton Township from a combination between the state and the county, with the idea that some of it would be nature preserved in some way. That's where a lot of the land for like the horse trail comes from. And then the rest of it would be decided at a local level, because that would be a better allocation of resources with local people to determine which way it would be developed.
That is an excellent explanation.
Yeah, there's more history if you want,
Thank
but that's the
No, that'll
general.
do.
And most of them are like 25 feet wide
They were tiny.
by
So it's a messy little area as far as the property goes, but we do have people purchasing pieces as we've seen tonight, especially in the area. And I think in the future, that's probably gonna help with some of this idea of people going back there and dumping and those types of things. Because as it's privately owned, a lot of people see that as a legitimate use of township property. But as it's privately owned, I think some of that will start to veer away over the next generation or so.
Is that a buildable lot? Or not?
Oh, it will be 1.5 acres.
This one, I do believe would be, do you know specifically on that, Steve?
I believe I considered that buildable.
Yeah.
Well, that's definitely buildable.
Yeah. Over an acre in a residential area.
I make a motion to use the true cash value of assessor and market comparables like we had been for setting minimum bid on referred parcel on East Castle.
Motion by Lee, do we have support? Support by Michael, any discussion among the board? Hearing none, roll call vote.
Lee.
Yes.
Michael.
Yes.
Christie.
Yes.
Scott.
Yes.
Tracy, yes. Jeffrey.
Yes. Motion passes. Next, we have our discussion items, first one being fireworks. So, and Scott had mentioned this. I've heard through the grapevine, the organization of the fireworks, and organizing anything with humans is always a decent endeavor. And so even as there's been trouble with organizing, which I'm sure there always is, the event has always gone off well. I go there with my family on the 4th of July. So that's great. But Scott mentioned maybe bringing it up at a meeting might lend some support to the organization and maybe bring a little greater awareness to it. I do believe we have several people involved with the organization here tonight. Did you have anything else on that, Scott?
I just heard that it had gone through some morphine of that, right? And I just felt I didn't want that to slip through the cracks as a board. I think it's a great celebration for the community. A lot of people show up. There's a lot of people in this township that night, and they look forward to it. I just didn't want to have that go away by us not paying attention. I did notice the trailer at the Jack's the other day when I was there, right? And I was like, oh, goody, kind of thing. So I knew something was going on at that point. That was just last week. So, yeah, is there anything we can do to help that stay together?
I want to let you know that I was the president of the fireworks committee for 20-some years. And I take care of my parents now. So I pass it off over to the new president, which is Michelle Timmer. But I'll be with her, through this next year, trying to get her committee started. We need more we need more people in her committee. Because when I have my committee, we've all been in it for a lot of years. Yeah, kind of burn out. So, we just kind of pass it on.
How many
So what
people,
we need is volunteers. Yes.
how many people you need, Michelle?
Well, right now I have maybe 7 people. There's a president, a secretary, and a treasurer reported to the state. We really need probably 10 to 15 at a minimum. And there's only 3 or 4 meetings a year, so it's not a huge commitment. Well, it's a big commitment that one day, if we could get any other fundraisers going. Currently, we have enough money for fireworks in 2024, but that pretty much wipes us out. We start over, and it's anywhere, give or take, 25,000 a year.
When's the golf outing?
First Friday, September. September on a Friday at like that. And we have someone that runs that, totally takes it over, does it, Troy Fox. But we do need people that day. He does the organizing, but that day.
All the fireworks committee has to do is show up and cook all day.
Sell raffle tickets.
And Troy does the rest, everything else.
I know. We do need people to help take back those cans that you're so excited about.
Yeah.
I have a truck.
There you go.
I'll commit to helping you.
It is locked now, and anybody that wants to and will help, please do take back cans. I'd like to give their name to the people at Jack, so when someone comes in and says, I'm here to take cans,
Yeah.
well, is your name on the list? Because there was a theft issue, and I don't want anybody thinking they can just say, oh, I'll take some cans and walk away with some, so. And that generates $5,000 to $6,000 a year.
Nice.
That's just the one trailer. that
Yeah.
affects.
Yes.
I was at McCormick's not too long ago and the lady at the counter said, I don't think we're taking cans anymore. They have the automated machine in the back. And I'm thinking, that was an interesting comment. So let me ask if they're doing that or not doing that. Maybe there's an opportunity for a second trailer there instead.
Maybe.
And I'm
Yeah.
just looking for other opportunities.
Gonna need more people to take them back.
Got a truck. You need the volunteers to go with it.
Is there a way that, we have a website, or you guys have a website that you can put on there that we need, volunteers to join the committee?
Yeah.
Yes, we need to join.
Because we need to get the word out.
Yeah, you can't just have everybody in the public bringing back cans. They need to be
Well,
on.
I wouldn't even mention the cans, so just try to get on.
Right.
And then,
Then we can maybe get a schedule going of people to do the cans. It is kind of a big job. My husband and I have done it a couple of times. He's done it several times. It fills his pickup truck twice, at least. And then it takes quite a while to stand there and watch. Yeah.
But yeah, if you want to send me something that you want posted, some sort of little blurb, that way they know who to contact, who to reach out to, whatever contact information you want. And so you can feel free to just email it to me.
Donations are wonderful as well.
Yes.
I also have a letter that I intend to send to some of the businesses, which hasn't been done in a while. It wasn't necessarily needed, but with the price of everything going up. The new owner of the resort, Ace Hardware, Bar, even down as far as J&J, something. I mean, there's several actually businesses, Jack's themselves. We get and have a lot of help from April Nyman already, so I won't be sending a letter.
Cool. Well, we appreciate you tackling that endeavor.
Thanks. Well, I think. Oh, I do have one other thing. Parnell has offered, we have the signs and the stars.
Right. The goal sign?
Yeah.
What about it? I need, are you gonna do that? Okay, are you gonna do it all winter?
We,
Oh, you don't,
we just do.
Right where you see it now.
keep it spring.
and does it have to be mowed? Got that done, thank you.
Nice. Checked off. All right, one thing done. Next, we have the community center has been brought up a number of times, some discussion around the community center. And well, it's here for discussion.
I have been researching grants and I missed one by a week through MTA. Did not know, so I know to look more, but I between Tracy and I, we're gonna be watching. As soon as we see something, we'll apply.
Okay.
So
Yeah, that's its whole own industry, that's for sure.
it's own thing all by itself.
If there's enough of a push, we could take it to the ballot. Village.
We could. I think the fire is an obvious vote for adding full time, and that passed by not a gigantic number. So the renewal passed by over 500 votes, but the increase for the full time passed by less than 100. I think there would be less support for a community center. I think it would be an obvious fail. Who knows? Kind of a fool's errand predicting votes.
Yeah, it depends. your perspective, it's a community building that people will be able to use and rent and in our area close by, so it might be more favorable than they don't see necessarily the fire department or other township services, but it's something that they could see and use. And
Just think on Halloween, how well we could have used that building. When we had
Center.
people out of power for 24 hours and, you know, we have a lot of neighbors that we could have been able to check on easier and people need to charge phones, people just need to get something hot to drink, just a place to go to warm up. Cause it was a long 24 hours being without power and some people were out much longer than that.
That
The
building,
community center would have been the perfect, thing for that.
that building would have been out of power too.
No, we'd have done a generator. We would have figured that out.
Generator building.
Well, our old civic building kept our community, kept things in the
Connected.
community.
Yeah.
It kept people connected.
Yeah, because it was really hard keeping track of what was happening with everybody because, not everybody has everybody's cell phone numbers and like I said, I was being real crazy about my phone. Don't call me unless it's an emergency because I didn't know when I was gonna be able to go charge it, so.
Yeah,
Been the perfect.
well, so two selling points, but yeah, when that organization fell apart, it's unfortunate.
What if we put numbers to it, have a couple companies come out and give us scales on, for this size building, we charge you this much, for this size, if you want these amenities, if you want a kitchen, if you want a generator. If maybe there was numbers added to it, it might be a little more clear for somebody to make a decision or discuss a little bit better, but. And maybe multiple companies, because obviously we're having some type of conflict with the doors. So maybe if we went with a different company rather than just a DL Morse or something.
Correct.
This is just my 2 cents, but if we had numbers to it, that'd be more realistic, because I know those generators. Do you know how much yours cost, chief, at the firehouse?
$7,000.
So it's just maybe put numbers on it, make it make more sense, but that's my 2 cents.
Can you speak to what, the one grant you missed, what would that have done if we got it?
How much was it?
Probably a generic building.
Okay, so it would have paid for the whole building.
It was a big grant.
It was a big grant, and
Wow.
and I'm guilty of not checking MTA like I do the treasure stuff. And MTA offers more grants than just a normal through the feds or through. So MTA is the Michigan Township Association that periodically will throw things out and offer things.
So the chances of that coming back around in say a year are real.
I don't know.
Oh, okay. It's very hard to predict that. I like that idea though. I mean, if we can get somebody to help.
Is this something that the residents can bring to us to put on the ballot, like a road assessment, how they do that? And if these residents here really want this, can do a petition to bring that to us to get it on the ballot?
I'm not sure if that is a specifically allowed, the petitions on what can go on the ballot and what can't go on the ballot are interesting because at the state level, obviously we exist because of state law. And at the state level, it specifically lists what we can have on the ballot. So it doesn't say you can have anything on the ballot and then list what you can have. It specifically lists what you can have and the processes for going about that. It seems like there should be a petition process for that. I'm not sure that there actually would be. There certainly would be for if you did it in a special assessment, which is how we do the roads. And you could make the proposal that you're special assessing the entire township, but you would need a very large percentage of signatures to do something like that, so it wouldn't be practical. So-
We have about 10,000 people.
9,530 by the last census.
That'd be a pretty big task.
Yeah, so that would end up being massive, and so you could do a petition to show support for it. But I don't think in any realistic way, there would be a way of having a petition that like forces something to go on the ballot. So it'd end up being a board decision on whether there's gonna be a vote to increase a millage rate to probably build a building based on taking out a bond in debt that the village is gonna pay back over time. It'd be structured something like that, most likely.
I do like Nate's idea to get maybe some bids, just to see what we're talking. cost-wise.
Yeah, we could work on looking at some numbers. Anything else on that? Next, we have Parks and Recreation Committee. And so we're going through the Parks and Recreation plan for its 5-year update. Steve mentioned that it would make sense to have Parks and Recreation Committee. In the past, there has been a Parks and Recreation Advisory Board that existed for limited periods of time, which doesn't exist now. It would not be so active that it would need to meet monthly, but it may make sense to have one quarterly that is working on arranging things at the parks. In that case, it would make sense for Nate to be involved, probably not on the committee, although there's some possibility there, but at least heavily involved with the committee in coordinating things at the parks and even cemeteries. We have a cemetery coordinator as well, but a lot of times in, for instance, the Parks and Recreation plan that falls in there. We have 4 parks, 2 cemeteries, 1 bike trail, 1 horse trail, and a few boat launches, technically, not one on Twin Lake, but the ones on North Lake, Middle Lake, and West Lake. So those are the primary areas of concern as far as these things go. Any thoughts on the committee? I think it would make sense to have a liaison like we do between this board and the Planning Commission and the Zoning Board of Appeals as well. Ladies on the Planning Commission, Noah's on the Zoning Board of Appeals, have someone on Parks and Rec.
I like that idea. Do you know why some townships have them as elected positions? Nobody's
It's an
elected for
option, it's an option in the state law
but- Okay,
to be able to have them as an elected position. It does seem odd to have as an elected position, but it is possible. So that is something we should discuss. And then how it's going to be structured and some of the finances, because are we going to keep budgeting like we have been in the past, where we just have line items on what the board is thinking for expenditures on those types of things? Or we're going to allocate a certain amount of money per year that then the Parks and Recreation Committee would then allocate beyond there at their discretion. So it could be set up in different ways.
my opinion is not to have elected. I just wanted to know why others did.
I'm not fully sure the reasoning behind doing it.
It's just a lot. Yeah, so probably started out that way and they just kept doing it.
Probably.
Yeah, like the liaison, I think we kind of figure out the budgeting part as we go. I think the Parks and Rec plan that we're doing and some like 5-year planning would be good, and the Parks and Rec group would be very helpful with that.
Could be. Other thoughts? I mean, there is the television sitcom show, Parks and Rec, which this job is more similar than you would possibly imagine. And then it allows us to reference that more often. Even though I do somewhat now. All right, any other thoughts on that one? Next, we have the 2024 meeting and holiday schedule. And so a few things are here because meetings and holidays are separate. So, and I think meetings usually aren't controversial. So let's go over that first. On the meeting schedule, and this includes the Board of Trustees and the Planning Commission, there are technically 3 dates that are moved. So the November 12th meeting for the Board of Trustees because of the holiday, the December 17th meeting for the Planning Commission because of the holiday, and then the February 20th meeting for the Planning Commission because of the election, which Tracy, I believe, got confirmed as of today.
I saw that the legislature's going to recess on Thursday, so that gives the 90 days. So there will be, the presidential primary will be February 27th, 2024. Our early voting starts February 17th.
Yep, so these dates would make sense. The Zoning Board of Appeals meets as needed as the that's the way we've been doing it. We could set it up, Steve and I have talked about this a little before, we could set it up where you have kind of a default meeting every month and you just cancel it if you don't need it. But it hasn't been a ton, especially as we've adjusted things going to the Zoning Board of Appeals. And then we've had a number of work sessions with the Planning Commission, but it's not necessarily needed every month either. So instead of scheduling those as the official date, we've been scheduling them as needed but they could be scheduled and canceled in a similar fashion too. So those are options. Do you have any thoughts on those, Steve?
I just think with ZBA, it just works better for now to have as needed, gives the board members a lot of flexibility as well as the applicants. Just with the sheer number of applications every year, it makes sense to have it on an as needed basis. And then for the work sessions for the planning commission, as they gain more experience, they need fewer work sessions. And it's just easier administratively to have a new meeting instead of canceling it. Schedule one.
Any thoughts, questions, comments, concerns on the meetings themselves? And then we'll dive into holidays. So holidays, my first year, I didn't expect to be controversial, it's just to approve some holidays. But then I brought up the idea of Good Friday because the guy from maintenance had brought it up to me, and then Juneteenth was brought up, and it looks like they might proliferate and we'll end up with tons of holidays, which there are some governments that have a lot of holidays. There was one, when I was doing comparisons before, there's one court that takes 2 weeks just randomly, completely off somewhere over on the other side of the state, along with all of the other normal holidays. So, which is interesting. We have 2 lists in here. The first one, Tracy had included a decent amount of kind of the potential holidays, right? It includes former Columbus Day, Indigenous Peoples Day now. Juneteenth is on here, which the feds have now approved, Texas holiday on thing there, but the feds have adopted it, so it's working its way through the system. And then Christie drew a list too of just slightly smaller, just excludes some of them. On the one for the first one that includes more, there's just one Friday on there, which now we're closed. So as far as office staff, we're closed on Fridays. Maintenance has still been working on Friday. Obviously doesn't apply fires, it's completely own thing, right? Separate policy for them. So on a little bit shorter list, we don't have any overlaps with Friday, so there would be no issue there. But thoughts, comments, concerns, we'll bring it, obviously both of these I'll bring for a vote next month, but I want to discuss them this month.
There are 11 federal holidays, so the first list or whatever, my list,
Yep.
Thanksgiving, Friday, deal is not a holiday, Christmas Eve and New Year's Eve are not holidays. So they're the other fill in for now. I don't care if we take them or not.
Yes. Any thoughts on this?
And the ones that I took were with the county.
Who was based off the
This was based,
Okay.
the ones I did without the Juneteenth, county doesn't go with the Juneteenth and the October 14th one
Columbus Day.
and the Columbus Day. So what I did was just strictly based off of what the county of Muskegon was.
And some of the departments do it slightly differently, which is why we encountered that, but how they officially propose it. And that's what we fell back on over the last couple of years. We don't have to fall back on essentially copying the county slate. We can obviously make our own, but it's not a reasonable schedule.
It just seems like a lot of days closed to not be here. When there's so much to do in 4 days.
So this first one is a proposed thing?
It's just information. That's, Tracy had drawn
Yeah,
up.
one has 15 days, one has 11.
Right.
Right. The one has all of them possible.
I mean, does this 11 one kind of make sense to people? And we'll probably I'll include that for next month. And does anyone have a strong feeling about Juneteenth? No? I lived in Texas for a couple of years. It really is a holiday down there. But now it's a federal holiday. Yeah. It's an odd day to celebrate, I think, but makes a lot of sense in Texas. All right, which brings us to our second public/board comment, which we have a thing that may become an issue in the future, not certain about. So Christie had brought up with the Drain Commissioner, Water Resources Commissioner, formerly called the Drain Commissioner. And so wanted to make the board aware of it in case it does become an issue. They requested that she add a tax, a small amount, $28, to a parcel that doesn't exist. And then roll it into other parcels, and obviously, we're not doing that. And so, but apparently the Drain Commission is leaning on it decently heavy. And I'm not aware of them losing a court case before. But if we're gonna have some sort of controversy, then I don't mind it if it's $28 on the line. I don't know that it will become a big thing, but it could be. Is there anything you wanted to say on that, Christine?
Just that this parcel has never existed since the ride drain started in 2020. And the drain commissioner and I had a lengthy conversation that I told her I'm not adding it to, there's nothing to add it to. The county told me it was illegal to add it to another parcel just to get the money. So therefore I'm not adding it. Not adding it.
So it could be
Not
interesting.
adding it. I'm not going to jail for it.
Controversies with very little money on the line is kind of nice because we can't lose too bad. So, and I think we'd win that one. So that's not an issue. But if I need to bring it to the board in some way to pass a thing that says we're not going to tax non-existent parcels, we're not going to pay you out of the general fund for non-existent parcels for taxes, we can do that. So, more than $28 in my pocket, so we're not risking that much. All right, with that, second public comment, if anyone wants to come up and let us know who you are and let us know what you think.
Bill Scott, 296 East Daniels. First of all, I want to thank you again for your vote on blocking the end of Daniels and putting up the signs. There's been about a 99.73% reduction in idiots driving past my house at 100 miles an hour. And a lot of them go down now and you know where they're going to go. And they see the sign, they make a loop and they get the hell out of it. As far as
The work's been done.
work's been done. It was done, 2 days after the last meeting?
Pretty soon, yeah.
Boom, it was done. I went away for breakfast and I came back and it was done. And I thought there was somebody parked down the end of the road. So anyways, you're taking up my time.
It's an extra 30 seconds.
You mentioned the community center and a grant. I would encourage you to investigate maybe getting a grant writer. Every one of you, and no offense, but the full-time officers are far too busy to be chasing grants. And there's so many peculiarities with each one. A grant writer gets notified of the grants. I'd encourage you just to investigate that. Parks and Recreation Committee, no offense to the groundskeeper, but I believe one of you should be the liaison to the Parks and Rec Committee, just for legal reasons. So if I can consider that, that's all I have. Thank you.
Thank you. Good. Anyone else? No? All right.
Mr. Jones?
Go back to Mr. Jones.
Yeah, we can discuss it now. We can discuss it after. So, but what we did is we took a vote on it and we had looked, we got a quote on potentially treating it. I'd included your letter here in the packet. And your son had emailed me about that as well. And the board voted to work on a process for replacing the tree with a healthier tree. And so we'll decorate it, get it decorated for this year. But going into next year, we'll want a different one. You had mentioned in your letter that you had someone that would replace the tree. Obviously, we could look at one of the tree companies for doing it, but if you have someone that is willing and able to do that, then that would be great. So just wanted to know more about that.
It's a family member who has a tree spade and what have you, and has, in fact, if you go out to the Brookport Mall out there, all the pine trees and what have you around that mall was installed by him.
Okay.
So he knows what needs to be done in order to put one in. But out there, I call it the causeway. I don't know what really to call it, but with the salt in the wintertime, when the semi is going by, you gotta tend that tree all the time. Because that salt will just eat them up.
Yeah. If the person that is going to replace the tree, right behind you there, I have a business card. If you could have them email me or call me, put us in contact, that way we can coordinate that. I'd appreciate it.
I don't know.
Good. Anything else? Any other public comments? Any board comments?
I guess I just got the one, I didn't realize that with the automatic door openers, that was in ARPA funds thing.
It was, so
I guess I didn't.
it won't
guess I
throw
didn't
us
see
off.
that.
Yeah, I noticed that. So it won't throw us off because we're over our contractually obligated amount, which is what you need. That's why we couldn't just do a resolution to have qualifies for the 1% bonus. It has to be contractually obligated.
I'm just saying though too, I guess I didn't realize that if we already were gonna put it in the ARPA funds, I mean, I guess we just do it. I mean, I understand it's a lot of money, but it's part of the ARPA funds and we're already gonna allocate those funds to it. Possibly.
Our ARPA fund expenditures now with the roads going on there are going to be larger than the amount of ARPA funds that we have left.
Oh,
So we're still gonna have to allocate some towards building, maybe some towards roads, although we might have
Yeah.
that completely, it'll be close, a small amount towards that. It'll free up some other funds or some funds from the general fund that we can use towards parks or cemeteries or something like that. Because we're already doing so much work on the roads, but we'll still have to allocate some to those going into next year, just to make up that smaller difference.
But just so I understand, I think what Lee's bringing up is, and I'm gonna make sure that I'm hearing this right. Us postponing the door issue until next month doesn't have anything to do with our ARPA's, what we decided on.
No, that'll be fine, because the contracts are still more than is needed there. So, but in the resolution, right, it reads as $43,000 instead of the 30 something. But I believe I've written it as up to. So
I guess I'm just saying, you're probably kind of thinking more that we might move the door and it would be in ARPA.
correct. I'd set it up for it like that, so that we wouldn't need to adjust that if needed.
I guess like you were saying, it's over this ARPA expenditure is over the limit. You were saying, right?
Over the amount that
So
we still have.
So we can get the
Correct.
bonus or
Yep.
or that we expect, we use it all up before the certain amount of time.
Correct.
But I'm just saying, I know we were worried about the price on that.
Yep.
The doors, but if we were already gonna expend the money on it, is there a problem with and just doing it? We were already gonna do it, possibly, you know. Gonna allocate the money already to it,
Nah, because we'd have to,
but because you were saying we'd have to spend money from our general fund or something anyway to cover additional costs.
correct, something in there, either the
Okay.
roads or the building.
I just want to clear that, it's, as we're
Something
going through
has to
that,
come
I
from
saw
the general
that, I
fund.
just,
Yeah, oh, it's a good catch.
I know we were like
It's a good catch.
worried about the money, but if we're already gonna use it, I see what you're saying now.
Yep.
That's an issue.
Good. Anything else? All right, otherwise I'm looking for a motion to adjourn. Moved by Christie, do we have support?
Support.
Support by Lee, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Adjourned.
Well,